Calvary. I am in my car. I am heading to Central Presbyterian Church for Gun Violence Lobby Day. I heard about this through Colorado Faith Communities United to End Gun Violence, and I'm a part of the communications team, and I've really wanted to do this for several years, so I'm very excited to be able to experience it. I may be able to talk to legislators, or I may be in a committee hearing, but we'll get training first, and that's why I'm heading to Central Presbyterian. So I'll see you soon. Made it to Central Presbyterian. Not feeling a little nervous, if I'm honest. But looking forward to it at the same time.
The Coloradans are committed to making our community safer, and that we refuse to accept gun violence as a status quo. We're here to engage in the legislative process and to ensure that our lawmakers hear directly from us, their constituents, about the urgent need for common sense gun violence prevention policies.
So one thing that jumped out to me on their fact sheet was that firearms were the most common cause of death among Colorado's children 5 through 14 and 15 through 24 in 2022 and 2023. Hey. And that the firearm homicide rate among Black non-Hispanic males ages 15 through 24 was 22 times that of white non-Hispanic males. So firearm homicide deaths among Black and Hispanics are dramatically more than white males.
Eileen mentioned, we are heading over to the Capitol in a little bit. We're going to talk about how we do that and coordinate, but really I want you to understand just the purpose of these visits is really not a one and done today. This is about
So just a quick note on these bills, keeping in mind, I am not an expert in this whatsoever, but high capacity magazine ban enforcement, banning semi-automatic firearms, adding someone to a voluntary no-buy list, support for state response to mass shootings, and protection for users of social media. So I did not know this, but youth, they can buy guns and drugs on social media fairly easily. And so that bill would ask for some accountability on the social media company's part to have that not be so easy for youth to do. Then we have penalty for firearm theft, increasing the penalty, automatic protection order, victim notification system, an income tax credit for firearm safety device, and requirements for sale of firearm ammunition. We have the bills that loosen gun laws, so repealing gun dealer permitting, and my least favorite one, permitless concealed carry, would allow anyone to carry a concealed handgun without a permit. And I had some Calvary people with me, Beth and Gordon Kieft and Allison Matthews. And they gave us a folder full of really, really helpful papers. So if you'd like any of these, I'd be happy to scan them to you. And then we broke off into groups with those who we shared representatives with or who were going to the same location. So we just finished our training just now, and so I'm going to try to head to the committee hearing for Senate Bill 034, voluntary no-buy. This allows a person to voluntarily put themselves on the NICS no-buy list. And then I'm hoping to meet up with the group that is meeting with Senator James Coleman, I believe. Since my representatives aren't available to meet today, and he is the Senate president, I'm one of his constituents in a way, so that is next steps. So I'll address this just a little bit, but this was the narthex hallway area where people would wait to talk to representatives. And just to the left is the House chambers, and so representatives would come out during breaks and talk to people. You'd be waiting there with their aide, and then, they would kind of coordinate when the representative would come out and be able to speak with you.
So I just got done. It is after 1 o'clock, so it's been a couple hours since training ended at 11. I am tired. My feet hurt. Did a lot of standing and walking. I stood in the hallway, or the kind of like a narthex area outside the House chamber, and I was with a very helpful volunteer employee, Becca, from Blue Rising, which is an organization for youth and their wellness. So she knew a lot of the representatives. So I must have met 5 or 6 representatives or state senators. Apparently, they really enjoy meeting with constituents because that's who they work for. And the bill that was most discussed was the one on social media and guns. So, calling for social media companies to be more regulated and follow policies to keep youth safe. So, I did not know that you can buy a gun on social media, or you can buy drugs on social media. You can have guns sent via DoorDash to wherever you are, or drugs sent via DoorDash, and guns are, you can buy them on Facebook for $30. And so this bill is bipartisan, which is good, but it's asking just for kind of some accountability from these social media companies. And so it makes me never want to give my daughter the internet, ever. And it was really hard to hear a lot of the horrible statistics, but at the same time, it's those statistics and those stories that motivate me to not retreat into complacency. That kids should not be able to buy guns or drugs via social media that easily. Um, and I've learned so much today, and I think I'm going to be absorbing it for a while. But I was really struck by how easy it is to talk to your representatives. You can walk right into the Capitol building. You go through security screening. You, a couple days prior, set up an appointment with them. But knowing that representatives' schedules change very quickly, things come up. We weren't able to meet with Senator President because there was a mix-up with the scheduling. But I talked to a lot of representatives I didn't plan on talking to. And yeah, like you can go in and have meetings with them, and they want to hear from you. So I am super impressed with today. I'm just so thankful for these gun violence prevention groups to have a lobby day for people like me who have no idea what they're doing to make it accessible for us. Um, but yeah, it's been quite a day. I will pop back on in a little bit after I've been able to reflect on this a little bit more. And but it's been a really meaningful day to get into action and respond. So I'll see you in a bit. So it will be 2 weeks this Thursday since lobby day. So I've had some time to process and think about how I can make this a sustainable practice. A couple things I did notice that it's very easy to become overwhelmed, especially when you try to fit in your activism and response into your daily life of commitments and family. And so I would just give the advice of, if you try to dip your toe into this, just know that that overwhelmed feeling is normal. Part of responding to things is that it can be very complex. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't, but it is just something where you have to make a bit of a commitment that this is something you value, and so this is something you're going to spend some time on. And it's also overwhelming because, like I'm always tempted to just retreat into forgetting about this issue. And it's very tempting to slip into the thinking that, how does this work really make an impact? Will my voice really make a difference? Um, and, I can just retreat and, go back into kind of living under a rock in terms of knowing what legislation is being heard and worked through in the House and the Senate. And but I think that's part of working towards justice and peace in our world. It's just takes some discomfort. It takes being able to sit with like a feeling of hopelessness and hope at the same time. And it's not easy. So, just I think about how much Jesus asked of his disciples. It's
it's not easy to work for justice in this world, but it's super important. And so I also learned that, and this may or may not be true, but it seems that representatives will read emails. And I know that in-person testimony is powerful and video testimony. I have heard that submitting a written testimony may not be as powerful, but emails are powerful. So if you're able to email, you are able to respond to, injustice and things that should be changed to create a more safe and hopeful world. And if you're interested, I can kind of send you the sample documents that they gave me of how to construct an email. And another thing is that the Colorado General Assembly website is a tremendous resource in helping you navigate how to contact representatives, how to submit your testimony, and just doing your own research about what bills are being heard. All the bills are on there. The schedule of when they're being heard and presented, and it's all on their website. You're super easy to look up who your representatives are, and that's a tremendous resource that makes it very easy to know your facts and know what you're dealing with. So I would say just think about, what injustice are you sensing in this world that you'd like to respond to? It doesn't always have to be something that's in legislation. That's often how it's going to be presented, is through our systemic laws and changes to our laws. And so you want to pay attention to those things. But just think about what injustice you are feeling called to respond to. And maybe just make a small commitment. Start small to respond in some way. You can send an email to a representative. You can show up to a vigil. You can show up to a protest. Bring a friend if you are scared or uncomfortable. Ask a friend to email with you, a legislator. But don't let the, tremendous thought of responding to something like legislation or injustice, don't let that stop you from starting. I was nervous going to the lobby day and thinking about, talking to representatives, because I'm an introvert, and talking to people I don't know, much less talking to people in the government who are elected, it's also intimidating. But I showed up, and I was there, and I learned, and I listened, and it was definitely worth my time, and I would 100% do it again. So perhaps our devotion will not be so much with our head and our mind, but with our hands, our feet, and our voice. That's another way that our faith can speak. So I just encourage you to think about that. Think about taking a small little practice on where you could respond.